everyone, and welcome back to another Hostinger Academy podcast. I'm Emma Young, head of content here at Hostinger, and I'll be your host for today. So let me start off by introducing our guest. We have Hari here, no last name because I'm going to butcher that. So hello and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today. So I would like to actually kick back the introduction a little bit, and maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about your WordPress journey.
Sure.
So what was your first WordPress experience? What was your first WordCamp? Everything.
Sure. So, I'm just going to say one thing about myself. My name is Hari Shanker. I work as an open source program manager at Automattic. My WordPress journey has been an interesting one. So, I discovered WordPress when I was in college. I was a 19-year-old college student. I was, studying. I sort of wanted to get some, do some things by the side. So, this was after school, between college, I had some time. So in this time, my friends and I, we tried setting up a technology startup. And what we were doing was we were creating websites. So we were doing this on HTML, CSS. And my friend, he showed me this really cool software where you can actually create a wonderful site with a backend, which is really cool. You can customize it, you can add features. That was WordPress. I was like, whoa, that was a mind-blowing thing for me.
Yeah.
So back then I was blogging. I've always been into writing. So the moment I saw it, I moved to WordPress.com. Now this startup kind of failed, and before it failed, they kicked me out. My co-founders kicked me out.
Oh, dang.
So in the meantime, college started. But by then, I had discovered WordPress. I was tinkering with it, and I absolutely loved it. So college was meh for me. I mean, the Indian education system, let's just say, or at least where I studied, it's not the greatest. But WordPress, so I was studying computer science.
Okay.
And of course, WordPress is a web application. So I was everything that I was learning in college, I got to sort of tinker with it using WordPress. So it was amazing. I used it for blogging. I soon find myself doing freelancing on my own. Mm-hmm. So WordPress really sort of helped me learn technology, helped me learn open source. And through WordPress, I actually went into the open source world. I was pretty active in the local FOSS community. Okay. So where I'm from, Kochi, Kerala, India. I mean Kerala, the state of Kerala in India. We're pretty big on open source. Our government introduced, they removed, all proprietary OSs in schools. They're all using Linux even now. So back in the day, I mean, I got into the whole movement and all that. So I was absolutely in love with WordPress, and for some reason, I felt connected to it. I mean, I still did not discover the community. So this was 2008, 9-ish.
Okay.
So that's how I got into it, and the rest is history. So I've been doing a lot of things. I was into journalism. I was into, I was doing startups. I worked in the bank. So all this while I was I had WordPress with me. And somewhere in between, I discovered that there's this company called Automattic.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So there's a story. I'll keep it brief. So of the many roles that I've played in life, one of this was as a quiz master. I was doing trivia quizzes.
Okay.
So I had a small startup where we were doing a couple of friends and I, we were hosting quizzes.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was hosting this technology quiz. And I mean, the WordPress fan that I am, I had to put a question on WordPress. So the question is it's a 3-part question. The first part is you reveal some information. So if you guess at that point, you get 10 points. Mm-hmm. No, then I reveal more information. If you get that point, you get 5 points. So there's one more last question. So by then you have 3 hints. Mm-hmm. So if you guess, you get 2 points. This question was on Matt Mullenweg.
Okay, well, do you remember the question?
Nobody answered it.
No.
This was 2009.
Okay.
This is 2009. WordPress was just getting popular.
Yeah.
So while I was researching for this question, that is when I discovered that Matt actually had this company called Automattic, and back then they were just 30 employees.
Okay.
Oh, this is really cool. I mean, and I could work from there from India.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, ooh, this is nice. I mean, this was way back when remote work was not as cool as it is now.
Yeah.
This is
pre-COVID.
10 years before, 10 years pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to work here. And I even found a role. It's called the happiness engineer role. I wanted to do this. But then imposter syndrome kicked in. I mean, I am this kid from small town India. I could not even think of this. But then I went through an entire life journey. I did a bunch of roles. But this Automattic thing, got in my mind. Then in 2015, I got married. And I told my wife, I mean, this is something that I want to do all my life. She was like, why don't you do it?
Do it.
So so somewhere in 2015, I just went ahead to the Automattic Work With Us page. I applied. Now I'm sitting with you in front of you.
I know, right? Yeah. So cool.
Yeah, it's been so I've been with them for about 7 years now. The interesting thing is I've always been interested in open source WordPress.
Yeah.
So even though I was working on as a technical support engineer, I did not plan this, trust me. So This happened very organically because I got involved in the local WordPress community back then. So 2015, 2016, like the community was active in India.
Yeah.
I organized WordCamps, I organized meetups. So somehow I got sponsored to contribute full time to WordPress in 2020. I've been doing that ever since, and I'm going to do this for the next 10 years or the
Yeah.
next 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on WordPress
Yeah,
until I
I
die.
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my story.
That's so cool. Yeah. Do you remember what the question was about, Matt?
So it was like I
Putting you
can
on the
definitely
spot.
share the question.
Yeah.
I can definitely share the question. So it's like so the question is like it's a three-part question. So first I give a hint like so there's this college kid in Houston and he made this software
Okay.
and which is like very popular. So nobody guessed it. Then I share more information. This is a web content management system
I gotcha.
which powers like
Okay,
XYZ. So it was something along those lines.
And then the answer was Matt Mullen.
The third part is like I share like even more information.
Yeah.
So nobody guessed it.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I do this again, I'm sure
Yeah, for
somebody's
sure.
gonna answer. Yeah. But this is
Okay, cool.
2009. So.
Yeah. So how has your role changed now? So now that you work for when you got hired at Automattic, now you're doing Five for the Future.
Yes.
How can you maybe tell us a little bit about how that started?
Yeah.
Were you involved with that?
So I was not directly involved with Five for the Future because like I started working full time. I got sponsored in 2020. Five for the Future, the website that we see it as of now, it was born in 2019.
Oh,
But I can definitely share the story behind it. So ever since the day WordPress was born, of course it was open source and folks were contributing to it. But at some point, as WordPress grew, there came a situation where the open source software needed so many contributions, like strong, solid contributions, ongoing contributions that will sort of help the software survive. So in 2014, Matt actually published a post in his blog. The title of the post is Five for the Future. So he encouraged all the organizations, individuals, everybody working on WordPress and making a revenue from it to contribute like 5% of their resources towards the open source software, towards supporting the open source software. So that was when it started. It started off as an idea. So a lot of companies immediately jumped in. They sort of like set aside their employees, they set aside their time. I mean, the ask was to contribute. Offer contributors, not money. The ask was not for money at all. The ask was for contributors to contribute to WordPress. So it was like it is a very organic, authentic way to support the open source project. That's how it kicked off. So the idea really caught on, and somewhere in I guess in the last community summit, 2017, that was when the idea of formalizing this with a pledge page came out.
Yeah.
In 2017 summit, this was an idea that came out, and the community started working towards it. There were a bunch of proposals, and the first iteration of what we have as Five for the Future, the website, it came out in 2018. And in 2019, like the program, I would say, was like formally launched. I mean, it has been there since 2014. The idea has been there since 2014. We've had folks sponsor. But the pledging page that we see now and the fact that folks can individually edit their profiles and set aside their time to contribute to WordPress, it came out in 2019. So since 2019, we've had that page. We've had companies, individuals, pledging up to 5% of their time, anything that they want to support, to make ongoing, sustained contributions to open source WordPress.
Okay, great. So when was it that you became like kind of like the DRI for it?
Right. So I've been sort of like working on community since I got sponsored in 2020. I became a community deputy. The role is called a community program supporter now.
Deputy.
In 2020,
I like
yes.
the deputy name.
Yeah. I
Cool.
mean, it has been changed now, like very recently to the U.S. focus, U.S. name of that role, sheriff. Yeah. No, we're no longer sheriff deputies.
Okay.
We're program supporters and programs. So I joined as a program supporter in 2020 April.
Okay.
So that was when that was the height of the pandemic. So I was doing that for 2 years. I was involved in keeping online WordCamps active during the pandemic, and as things changed, I was involved in getting things back in action. So in the meantime, Five for the Future was like having some updates. So in the pandemic, like the signups went down, but as the pandemic went away, work restarted on sort of like clarifying the pledges and things like that. So in 2020, around June, July, I was asked by Josepha to maybe like look into this more because they wanted somebody to like sort of like focus on this.
Yeah.
So I work full time on Automattic, but as I mentioned, I am sponsored. So I had a sabbatical. So Automattic has this thing where you work for 5 years and then you take a 3-month sabbatical.
Awesome.
So in June I went on sabbatical. So when I came back, I started working full-time on supporting WordPress contributions and looking at Five for the future. So that's to give you a very short answer to your question is 2022 September is when I started working full-time on this.
Okay, and like, so I'm guessing it's changed quite a bit in 3 years.
Yes.
So how do you feel about it now? Like, what are maybe some things that you want to focus on so people that are listening can like help
Yes.
contribute
Absolutely.
in the most areas? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Five for the Future at this point is a pledging page. What I'm trying to do is to convert that into a proper program.
Okay.
Like, yes, I mean, it is a program technically, like folks can sign up. But to new companies signing up, especially if you're a smaller company, you may not have a ton of direction on what to contribute, where to contribute, what are the areas where make WordPress teams need help, etc. So I'm trying to solve that problem. I'm trying to connect the needs. I mean, make teams have needs. Like for instance, teams like the accessibility team, documentation team, they're very vocal about it. That they need sponsored contributors. So many companies, many organizations, they have sponsored contributors. So connecting those needs, connecting those dots. That's what that's a big part of what I do. And of course, improving the program to sort of like support organizations to like really make a business case for contributions to organizations. There's actually, I had a WordCamp US session yesterday on this topic.
Yeah.
I mean, not a session, a panel discussion.
We will link to it.
Yes. So to identify that and to improve the contributor experience for organizations, for individual contributors. So even individuals can pledge for Five for the Future. I mean, so you can edit your WordPress.org profile and you can set aside a time. So that is also possible. So to make that process simple and cohesive, and to sort of like support folks in doing that, to give them guidance and all the resources that they need to do that, and to make these connections. So there's a bunch of things that need to be done, and work is like slowly starting and ongoing. I mean, it's a community project, so I'm not doing this alone. I have the support of the community for this. So it's slowly happening, but I think especially after the summit, we have a bunch of action items. I think you'll see some excellent changes coming up in the next couple of years.
Okay, cool. So for somebody who has like no idea what we're talking about, what would be like the easiest way to start contributing in like a very short like to-do list on to be part of the contributors, and maybe not so much for like Five for the Future with the company wise, but like just to contribute in general?
That is an excellent question. So if you're starting with WordPress and if you're confused about what to contribute, incidentally, we have a really cool tool that was launched alongside WordPress 6.3. The link is make.wordpress.org/contribute. So it's a contributor orientation tool. So if you're confused, if you want to contribute to WordPress but you don't know where to go, you can go to that tool. It's a wizard. It asks you questions, and eventually it gives you a list of teams that you want to contribute to. So contributing to WordPress, there's a website called make.wordpress.org. That's where all the contributions happens. We have 22 teams. And again, you do not need to know coding or development to start contributing. There's a bunch of no-code ways to contribute to WordPress as well. So this tool will help you identify some teams. But if you really want to get started, some teams are like fairly straightforward. For instance, the photos team.
Yes.
So if you can take a photo, and you don't need a fancy camera for it. On your phone, on your smartphone. And again, you don't need an iPhone or anything. Any smartphone or even a feature phone. If it's a clear photo, you can actually upload it in the photo directory. It's a very valid contribution, because eventually what the team has in mind is this will be a Creative Commons licensed picture, which WordPress users all over the world will be able to add. I mean, they can do it now, but I imagine at some point there will be an integration which allows folks to add it from the media library.
Okay,
so
that'd be cool.
If you want to start, photos team, yes. If you speak other languages, non-English languages, which I'm guessing a lot of our audience will, so you can actually consider translating WordPress to your language. Because at this point, more than 50% of all WordPress users are non-English speakers.
Yeah.
So it's a solid contribution. I mean, if you speak a non-English language, you can definitely do it. So that's done by the Polyglots team. That's again a great way to start contributing. And there's a bunch of other things you can. There's documentation, there's testing. So there's testing. Testing is excellent. So we have the next WordPress 6.4 release ongoing, and the work has started on it. So you can actually test WordPress releases. So when the release goes out, you can join a testing call. You can test it out and see how it works, and like identify any bugs and report it. It's a great way to contribute. It's actually very effective as well. So there's so many things you can do. And of course, documentation.
Yeah.
We need documentation. The documentation team really needs help. So if you feel like writing, you can do that. Similarly, that's something for everybody. So
Yeah.
these are just some of the 4 things that I mentioned. But again, if you can write code, you can contribute to core. You can contribute to the meta team. You can contribute to again. There's a bunch of testing that you can do. There's core performance. There's so many things that you can do. And of course, if you are a marketer, if you'd like to spread the good word about WordPress, yes. And there's a community team where I work with. I mean, you can organize events like WordCamp US. I mean, you can organize a meetup in your own city. So this is open. Like there's no barrier. If you have the interest and passion, there's a form you can sign up, and you can start a meetup in your city if there isn't one. If there is one, you can reach out to the organizers. You can actually join the organizing team, because we're always looking for organizers. So it's also a great way to contribute. So this, in short, what I'm saying is there's something for everybody. And the entry barrier, I mean, sometimes it might sound difficult. So my job is to make it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So the entry barrier is definitely, it's open. I wouldn't say it's easy at this point, because to be honest, it may not be. But yes, anyone can contribute, and if you're passionate about it, you can definitely do it. There's so many things that you can do, and this project really needs help.
Yeah, so you said something about like your job is to help to make it easier for people, and so that's a really good segue to the mentoring program that has also started. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that happened?
Absolutely. So I did say that I work on Five for the Future, and something that I've been doing for the past 6 months I've been doing a lot of research. So one thing that really stood out for me when I did this research, which has become even more clear during the community summit, is that WordPress is an onboarding problem for contributors. I'm going to be very honest with that.
Yeah.
It has an onboarding problem. So the problem is not the lack of resources. It's like there's too much information. So when somebody wants to contribute to WordPress and they go to this make.wordpress.org site and like pick whatever teams that they want, they are not able to find their way. So if they pick their team, they may have handbook pages, they may have onboarding pages. So things have improved now. I mean, there's a bunch of teams. Like I want to go call out to the training team, to the docs team. Like these teams are really doing a great job with improving their onboarding process. But I'm not talking about those teams.
Yeah.
I'm referring to things in general. And it's not the fault of these teams, because they're doing a ton of work. It's the way it is. So that's a problem. Like when somebody new comes in, it's easy for folks to get overwhelmed. They cannot find that onboarding information, and they go away. It's a real problem. It even happens with Five for the Future companies. So that was something that I published a post about it, and I asked for feedback. Like I asked folks, how can we fix this? The one thread that I saw in that post, the common thread in all the feedback, I think I got like 23 comments. It was mentorship. And it so happens that our project leader, Josepha, like she identified, and with the community, of course, that mentoring programs is a priority for WordPress in 2023.
Okay.
So that like stuck a light bulb in my mind. I mean, of course, this folks have identified that mentorship is a way to solve this problem. And it so happens that our project has mentorship as one of our big picture goals in 2023. So I did some digging. I mean, my first thought was how do we create a mentorship program? So that is when I realized that there was a contributor working group for the community team in 2021, which started during the pandemic, but kind of like fizzled out after that. So I reached out to the original folks who did this, and I put out a proposal. Let's try restarting this, and how about we try out a mentorship program for the project? Let's do an experiment. The response was overwhelmingly positive. I mean, I was expecting some pushback. I mean, I've worked with the community, so I know how things are.
Yeah.
The response was overwhelmingly positive. Like, I did not even get a single negative response. I was like, everybody was like, yes, let's do it. So I kicked off this contributor working group. We put out a proposal for the mentorship program. We've been doing some chats. So we started in March 2020. If memory serves me right, March 20 was when the working group had our first chat. We had so many people coming in from Europe, from the US, from the Americas, and from APAC. So we literally have like a working group which is like from parts of all over the world. At this point, we have like 20 plus active members. So we fleshed out a proposal. We put out the proposal. We created a white paper for how this works. So what we tried doing is, the summary of what I'm trying to say is, we decided to experiment with a project-wide mentorship program.
Okay.
This project-wide mentorship program is going to be a cohort of like up to 10 people, with each contributor coming in. For this experiment, we wanted to like bring in completely new people.
Yeah. Okay.
Folks who've never contributed to WordPress before, right? And the reason we decided to do this experiment was like, of course, we realized that mentorship is needed, but we didn't know what the best way to mentor was. And I mean, we don't have time. Like, and the best way to do things in WordPress is by like digging in. So,
Yeah.
which is why we decided to go with this experiment. So, the idea, the summary of the white paper is we're going to get 10 people. We're going to open up application. We're going to get 10 people and match them with mentors. Mentors are like serial experienced contributors. So, when we match folks, it would be based on things like their location, the languages they speak, their ideally some alignment with the teams that they work on.
Okay.
So we decided to put them in a cohort for 4 weeks, like 1 month. And in this period, like for the first 2 weeks, so the initial plan was to give them just an overview on the project, but like the group based on suggestions from the group, it evolved. So the final plan is, so around 10 people, they're put together in a group, they work for 4 weeks. The first 2 weeks, they learn about the project. So the project is huge. There's so much things to learn about.
Yeah.
So they learn everything about the project. You already have some, all the learning happens in Learn WordPress, learn.wordpress.org. So there's some courses over there. So they go through the Learn WordPress courses and they learn. And of course, they have chats with the mentors. And everybody's in a cohort. People learn together. So they do this learning and they learn about the project. Next 2 weeks,
I'm so sorry.
they identify, no problem.
Crap.
No problem.
I'm sorry.
So the next 2 weeks, they identify the teams that they want to work on, and then they start contributing towards that teams. And we won't have all 22 teams in the initial cohort. That was the plan. We have like a select group of teams. I mean, folks who had the bandwidth to support.
Will all the 10 people be from different teams?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Ideally. So there's going to be some overlap. So whatever the team, I mean, the teams that volunteered, they would have onboarding sessions and somebody from that team will help these people.
Okay.
So towards the end, these folks, they would have gained some idea about the project. They would have made some contributions. And even though the program ends, the hope was to, sort of like help them make a contribution plan and to, go back to them after 3 months to see how they're doing.
Okay.
So that was the plan. Right after WordCamp, I mean, this was before WordCamp Europe. During WordCamp Europe, again, like when the mentorship group had a meeting and we shared this broadly, and there was a question about this in the Q&A and all that. So the response was again like overwhelmingly positive. Like I got people coming to me saying, "I want to be a mentee."
Oh, good.
So that was the inspiration that we needed. We had a date, July 12th. So we went ahead and the group went ahead and we put out the call for mentees. We got an overwhelming response. We got like 50 applicants, and we had to put a hard stop at 10, but we managed to get like 13, and that is only because we only had 13 mentors. And we could do something. We could do like maybe assign one mentor to like 2 mentees, but that would be ineffective.
Yeah.
Right? So we had 13 mentors, but what we did was we opened things up. Like the mentorship did happen, but we had a public channel where anybody could come in. So we made the process open. We had a plan. We had an open plan. Anybody could follow along and take the courses. All our courses were open. Nothing was closed. Only the cohort was, and even though it was closed, it was an open Slack channel. You can still find the channel in Make WordPress Slack. So these folks worked together for 4 months, and it's been a huge success.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So if there was like sky's the limit, where would you like to see the mentorship program be? Like, nothing's out of the, like, I don't know. Like,
I like blue sky thinking. It's my favorite
Yeah.
exercise. So I would ideally like anybody coming into WordPress get a mentor. Like if they want a mentor,
okay.
they can get a mentor. That would be my ideal. And there's a process for it. There will be like mentorship training, which allows anybody to become. I mean, like serial contributors, if they want to, they can become a mentor. I want that mentorship training to be industry standard, and I would like to have ongoing cohorts, ideally alongside each release, so that like whoever wants to contribute, they can join this cohort, and by the time they graduate, like they've learned something. And I want this to be a learning experience. And I can even go a step further. I want like a GSOC-like thing for WordPress. I want WordPress to have like a mentorship program for anybody, like especially students, who can come in. And so the opportunity that I'm seeing here is that, I mean, we're not in the best situation economically globally. I hear things are improving, but like it doesn't seem to be the best.
Yeah.
So the future that I'm imagining is anyone, they can, I mean, of course you learn skills in college. So you go through a mentorship program, you learn tangible skills that will eventually help you get a job.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of WordPress companies. Like maybe even pair up with companies who can recruit folks who are coming out of this. So, or I mean, they learn skills enough so that they become job ready, or they could become entrepreneurs, and they would continue contributing to the project. So I see it as a win-win. Like the project gets help, these folks get help, and I even see this coming into Five for the future. Like companies could get, put their employees out here. They could go through this program. They would learn skills which help them. Like
Yeah.
companies, I mean, WordPress needs contributions. WordPress can help companies. So I see this as a symbiosis.
Yeah.
So that's the blue sky. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes. Okay, so then the same thing for Five for the Future. What is like sky's the limit? Where would you like to see that go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, WordPress needs support from organizations, right? So I would really like to see WordPress really supporting these organizations and like organizations really working with WordPress. So and of course, like the concern that comes out here is like maybe one company comes in and like they put in so much resources, so they control. So it's not a pay to play.
Yeah.
It's an open source project. So everybody works together, right? So that is the future that I envision. Like folks, even like they may be competitors in business, but they all work together hand in hand. It's already happening actually.
Yeah.
It's literally happening right now.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes. So they work together with an ecosystem. They help themselves. So I think there's a space for everybody here. This is a huge ecosystem. I mean, there was a study that came out in 2021 saying that the WordPress economy is a $500 billion economy. I believe it. I believe that. I've not seen the data behind it, but I believe it.
Yeah.
So it's huge. There's something for everybody. So as these people work together, we support this open source project, and the project supports them. So my ideal future is where all these companies, they work together and all the needs of the project are met, and the project moves from like maintaining to like going to the next frontier.
Yeah.
Where can we grow? What can we do? And like to become the most modern CMS, and it really goes the next mile. Like it becomes literally the best. It already is.
Yes.
Yeah, it already is. It even goes to the next level. Like every problem is solved, and like there's broad consensus, and the market share goes up, and the product becomes like really, really good. It reaches a place. I mean, we saw it at WordCamp US. I mean, so for folks watching, I would really like you to watch the event replay. There's a bunch of excellent sessions. So if you watch it, you will absolutely realize that this is the best CMS out there. Especially if you're serious about building products.
Yeah.
Like it's literally sky's the limit. We saw that here at WordCamp US. So yeah, I would like to take it to the next frontier. That can be possible with all these organizations coming in and crafting it. So WordPress improves. WordPress supports these organizations, and it supports people. It offers mentorship. It supports the people, and it supports the world. It supports the global economy. So we are in a world where certain corporations, certain big companies, they're sort of like closing down the walls. So WordPress is going to be like an outlier, keeping things open, supporting the open internet, like getting everybody to open their own social networks because of WordPress. I mean, to build open protocols that connect the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, for that to happen, like we need Five for the future. We need more contributions.
So maybe like the companies that are maybe listening for Five for the Future, do you think it's more beneficial for them to maybe sponsor like one person completely for 40 hours, or to maybe do a bunch of people with like just 5% of their workload, a couple hours a week?
That's a great question. One thing that I'd like to clarify is it's not 5%. It's 5%, up to 5%.
Yeah. Oh, up to 5%.
Up to 5%.
Okay.
I mean, it's not mentioned in the site, and of course, Matt did mention 5%. If you can contribute 5%, awesome.
Or 6.
But
just kidding.
Whatever works for you. I mean, 10, perfect.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do realize that every organization, it's a business.
Yeah.
All these, these organizations, they are, you cannot be a nonprofit completely. I mean, you have to like pay your employees, right? So whatever works for them, and there's no one fits all way to do this.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, it depends on what the company wants. So to all the companies listening, the first thing that I'd like you to do is like ask yourself, what do you do? So if you may be an agency, you may be a plugin business, you may be a hosting company, like whatever you do, what are your goals? What would you like to do with WordPress? So I can give you an example. So if you're an agency, you work with your clients. So maybe you'd like to, have your clients voiced. Make sure that your clients' voices are answered, or maybe you've encountered bugs that you need to fix. So maybe you're a marketing organization, so you'd like to sort of like it makes sense for your folks to be more involved in marketing, and you use WordPress professionally. In that case, maybe you don't need to contribute to code. Maybe you can contribute to the marketing team or the community team. So maybe you're a blog, so I guess you can contribute to the docs team or the community team. So it depends on what you exactly work on. So that's exactly where you're coming from, right? So ask yourself that question: what are your goals? How can WordPress help you? And look at the different make teams. Identify which team or teams align with what you do. And I would strongly recommend folks to start small. Like don't set aside like one person contributing like 40 hours. That may not be the best way forward. Like test the waters. We thankfully have this contributor tool, make.wordpress.org/contribute. So that's a great way to find out the team or teams that you'd like to contribute. So identify those teams and maybe like set aside, you can start with 1 hour per week. It's absolutely legitimate. 1 hour per week, one employee, 1 hour per week is perfect. So maybe look into that, look into, making some small contributions. You can see how it goes. So I'm guessing like folks may run into the issue where they feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
A great way to solve that is to join that Teams meeting. So every make team has a team meeting, team chat. So there's a website called make.wordpress.org/meetings. So in this website, it lists the meetings of all the make teams. Additionally, the team that you want to join, they usually publish their schedule or the agenda in advance, and in the site it's mentioned when the meetings are. So join the team chat. And if you have questions, it's a great place to ask them, or reach out to that team's representative. Test the waters, make some initial contributions. So let me give you an example. So let's say you want to contribute to the docs documentation. So join the docs team meeting. So then you get an idea because they share about where the tickets are that need help. So maybe get somebody to look at one of the GitHub issues. You work on the GitHub. I'm asking you since you work on
Yeah.
GitHub.
Yes.
Yes. So look at your GitHub. Look at the documentation team GitHub. Look at some of the open issues. Look at the project board. I think there's a bunch of tickets in 6.2, 6.3, even 5.9. I guess I think it's updated till 5.9. But 6.2, 6.3. Look at which one works better, which one where you can contribute to.
Yeah.
So contribute a couple of those tickets. So see if you really enjoy the process and if it makes sense. If it does, continue working on it, or else maybe move on to a different team. So keep doing this, and once you've reached a good momentum, like maybe start bringing in more people. Start looking at different teams. So if you want to contribute, if you're let's say you're a plugin company, maybe so the Make Plugins team is currently they're looking for volunteers. So if you're a plugin company, if you're making plugins, you can actually maybe sign. They have a form, so you can express interest in joining the team. It's a great way to learn plugin standards. So again, if you're involved in some sort of development, a solid benefit of contributing to WordPress is you can be absolutely up to speed with WordPress coding standards. Yeah. You can make the best products, and you can really be up to speed with what's happening in WordPress, and you can see the direction where things are going. So you can, as a company, you can align your goals alongside. Or, you can build products with the future in mind, which help customers, and you can build the most modern stuff, right? And a solid benefit for agencies. I've actually seen this. So I come from Kerala, and we have a bunch of companies like who agencies. So one of the agencies, like they are very active in Five for the Future. So this organization, they actually have they do regular code contributions. So they actually get work based on that. They say, okay, we are code contributors, and they're not lying. Like they can see, folks can actually see the contribution. Some of them are like non-trivial. Like they've made solid patches.
Yeah.
So based on that, they get work. They pitch, so when they pitch for work with a big company, they say, hey, we are code contributors. So folks look at their profile. They can see the Five for the Future profile. They can see the WordPress.org profile. So they see the code that they've written.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Okay, these folks have done so much. They're literally the code that they've written. It's like powering 43% of the internet. I'm going to give my project to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think all these big organizations? I mean, we had a session on NASA. How do you think NASA came to WordPress? I mean, it's because like it runs 40% of the internet. I mean, if an organization like NASA, which does so much. So similarly, if you're an agency, when you pitch, if you tell them that you've actually done work which supports the open source project, it's a solid business case. So similarly, identify that business case, slowly start testing the waters, and like maybe start with one employee, 1 hour, like slowly start scaling up, bring more people in. As for a way to do it, there's different ways to do it. There's it depends on how you're working on it. Maybe you can include contribution alongside your company contribution sprint as you work on a project. Maybe it makes sense to include it as a part of a sprint if you work on Agile. Or maybe you can have like 1 hour a week or like 1 day a month where all the employees contribute or some employees contribute. Or maybe you can have a full-time person. So it depends on how you want to work. There's so many ways to do it. There's no one fits all thing. maybe like some folks do this. Like some organizations have downtime. They work on code during the downtime.
Okay.
So look at whatever works best for you and identify a strategy and like slowly start working on it. The only advice that I would have is to do this consistently, because consistency is important. Ongoing sustainable contributions are important. So if you start contributing, do this on a sustainable basis.
I love consistency.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, so to wrap it up, if somebody was completely new with WordPress, what advice would you give them?
If they want to contribute,
Just, yeah, sure. It could just be anything in general. Somebody's like, what's WordPress? And then maybe wants to be, yeah, let's do with contributing.
okay, all right. So if somebody is new to WordPress, like I mean, we're not even talking about contributing. They're completely new to WordPress. I would suggest that set it up. So there's a bunch of services that allow you to create websites. I mean, you could if you're bold enough, you could sign up for a hosting company and set up your own website.
Yeah.
Or there's a bunch of ways to test WordPress. There's like local service providers where you can really sign up and just immediately create a website. Or there's WordPress.com. There's a bunch of others where you can directly sign up and have a WordPress website in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So try out one of those services. Test this out. See how it works. See how you can create a wonderful website and in a matter of minutes. So now we even have AI-powered tools to do it using WordPress again.
Yeah.
So try out one of those tools, see how it works, enjoy the beauty of WordPress. So that would and like slowly try learning it. So that would be something that I would advise for somebody who's completely new to WordPress and who want to learn about it. To whoever wants to contribute, make.wordpress/contribute. Check out that tool, please.
Yes.
It's a great way to identify which team you want to contribute to, and maybe start really small. Upload a photo, just one photo.
Yeah.
Upload one photo. They have some guidelines though. You should not have any images. I mean, you should not have any faces or personally identified information. It's pretty straightforward. So maybe take a photo of your cat. I have 3 cats. Take a photo of your cat, or take a photo of your pet.
Yeah.
Take a photo of a building near you. Cactus. Yes, cactus. Absolutely.
We need more cactus photos.
You need more cactus photos. Yes. So take a photo of that and upload it to the directory. I mean, enjoy the badge that you see on your WordPress.org profile.
Yeah.
Before you do that, like make sure you create a profile and you get into the WordPress Slack. That is literally the first thing that you need to do. We have WordCamp contributor days. So if there's a WordCamp near you, join the contributor day.
Yep.
It's a great way to get started. So it allows you to make your first contributions. But if you don't have one, absolutely fine. You can do this on your own whenever you want at the comfort of your home. Pick out one of those make themes. Translate a couple of strings in using for the polyglots team.
Yeah.
If you are a polyglot, or if you speak a non-English language, and even if you speak English, let's say you're from the UK, there's an English UK locale. You can actually contribute string to that locale. So there's definitely something for everybody, and slowly start contributing. If you, and again, I will not, maybe contribution is definitely not for everybody.
Yes.
So, but if you feel that okay, you enjoy this, try doing that more. Try making it a habit. That would be my advice. Make WordPress open source contribution a habit. So we keep talking about how donating to charities or supporting charities, volunteering is a good. This is legitimate volunteering. You're supporting the open web.
Yeah.
So find some time to do it on an ongoing basis. Maybe 30 minutes a week. You can definitely set aside 30 minutes a week. Everybody can do that. So set aside 30 minutes a week. Do it if you like it, if you enjoy it. Consider doing this again. Make it a habit. Explore more. You will see that you learn.
Yeah.
It's a great way to learn. I mean, I think it's one of the most underappreciated parts about contribution. Contributing, especially to WordPress, with a vibrant community, is the best way to learn. I mean, I am here right now in the US talking to you because of WordPress. I'm from small town India. I could never even imagine going out of that place. I would have lived there all my life, like working in a small company, doing, never even thinking about going out. But I'm here in the US talking to you because of WordPress.
And I've seen you 3 times this year already in different countries.
Yes. I've literally traveled the world this year.
Yeah.
So again, it's thanks to WordPress. Yeah. Like my work is literally, I mean, I'm not bragging, but it's literally taken me places, like very, very literally, because I've traveled a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, amazing. So thank you so much. So please contribute or start contributing, and like take Hari's advice. Just start.
Yeah.
And and then again, thank you so much for
Thank you. I want to say one more thing before we wrap up about the mentorship program.
Yes.
So we may have a new cohort coming up soon.
Okay.
So since we were on the topic of like for new people, January 2024, perhaps. I mean, it's not set in stone yet. The group is still working on it. So keep an eye out for our mentorship program. And even some teams already have mentorship. So for new contributors, you can maybe join one of the teams that you want. They already have some, like the training team has something, the documentation team has something, community team has something. So these teams already have somebody who's there to help you. And we'll have a project-wide mentorship program again. So the other program is quite successful. Of the 13 people that that joined, 11 graduated. So that's even much more than we expected. And these people, they are making ongoing contributions. A couple of them are actually here in WordCamp US.
Okay, great.
That's the best, right? So based on our learnings, we're going to improve this. So when we launch the next edition, it's going to be better. It's going to coincide with the next release. So it's a great way for you to see how the release works by the side.
Awesome. So we should look out for that on WordPress.org blog.
It's going to be
Slack,
there's going to be something.
Some announcement will come.
Yes, it will definitely go out in a very public space. If you follow a Make WordPress blog, it's going to be there, and you will find it. If you follow WordPress, you will definitely find it.
Okay, great. So we'll link to that maybe whenever we find it. But again, thank you so much for joining us today, and stay tuned for the next one.
Thank you.